Hello, Roy here on my booktube channel, Roy Reads Anything, where anything includes vintage science fiction. Sorry, I'm a bit croaky. This being the month of Rocket Summer. Rocket Summer, an immensely evocative title for a reading event devised by Michael K. Vaughan looking into vintage science fiction, classic science fiction. And that's basically what it's about, with the option of doing prompts which go by time periods. So the first of those was pre-1939, and I read The Skylark of Space by E. Doc Smith, but I'd actually started something else before that I thought of as a 1930s book. So Legion of Space by Jack Williamson. I'd read that it was written in 1934. I was reading it, and it started talking about Pearl Harbor, and was obviously written a bit later. So figured out that yes, magazine version 1930s, book version 1940s. So I thought, well, I'll save this as my 40s pick then, having started it. So Legion of Space, another book I've not read, another author I don't really think I've read, Jack Williamson. I remember seeing books of his around, exploding spaceships on the covers. But yeah, actually plunging into one, very enjoyable. It has a framing sequence, and it's a classic. Well, there's a doctor treating a guy who seems to be from the future and is talking about future history, and leaves him a manuscript. So that's the classic thing, the uncanny manuscript that gives you all of the deets. And what this guy's chosen to transcribe are the selection which follows. Deals with the adventures of John Starr, born John Ulnar, who was a young soldier in the Legion of Space in the 30th century, when human treason sought an alliance with the unearthly Medusae, and so brought alien horror and black disaster to the unworn with tags, to the unwarned worlds of men. So again with the space opera, and it's great. I know I've read apparently people thought this was maybe a little bit on the simplistic side, but I really enjoyed it. It's a headlong adventure. It's extremely propulsive. So when you get into this account of John Starr's stuff, he is indeed a young soldier, and he's detailed to be part of the guard of a young woman who knows the secret of a deadly weapon that can overcome alien adversaries. So basically, humankind, or men, as we used to say in those days, they can do the solar system, but beyond that, the people who went to Barnard's star came back with some terrible disease, and it included madness. And there are aliens out there, but apparently this woman knows the secret of somehow devising a weapon that can destroy them. So far so good, but then you get this treason from the top. It's actually his relative, so he's from some kind of aristocratic family, the Ulnars, and they've turned to the other side, and they've made an alliance with the aliens, the Medusae, who basically, so the idea is that they will restore the aristocracy and overturn something called the Green Hall, that's more like a democracy. And he's not John Starr, not having any of this, so he turns against them, but he's basically he ends up with 3 chums fighting against this treason. So one of these is a guy called Giles Habibula, who is basically Falstaff from Shakespeare. He's a big fat guy, likes his food and drink. I mean, he's a pretty crudely drawn version of Falstaff, probably a bit more like valiant Volstagg from the Marvel universe. But he's quite fun, complains all the time, but he has skills. And then the other two, there's a big strong giant guy and a calculating methodical leader type guy. So it's the Three Musketeers and Falstaff in space. What could be better than that? And
very little could be better than that.
So the baddies have gone off. They take this young woman has been kidnapped, taken off to the planet of the evil aliens. And the aliens, they are bug-eyed monsters. They're also like floating slugs. But there's when things like that happen, they're really uncanny. You know, there's a sort of there is that sort of creepiness and the awe of confronting these things like giant metal cities and stuff like that. So yes, off they go, and like I said, it's adventure more than anything. So yes, it's got the science fictional aspects seem to exist to create the settings for an adventure story. So there's like some talk of terraforming, but it's like casually described as something that's happened. We get past that pretty quickly, that sort of stuff is sort of in the background of this kind of purple, exciting tale. See what else I made notes of. You get some great hyperbolic. Staring malignly from behind the shielding plates, he met an eye, long, ovoid, shining, a well of cold purple flame, veiled with ancient wisdom, baleful with pure evil. So, as well as being completely opposite to our species in that they're slug-like and they've got the eyes on stalks and some tentacles as well, they're also immeasurably old, and a bit like the Martians in H.G. Wells, they view humanity as nothing really. But they do need iron. So here's a classic science fiction trope, the thing that's common on Earth that's incredibly rare somewhere else. And basically the bad aristocratic guys are fools because the aliens actually just intend to take over the Earth. They're not going to help restore the aristocracy, they're going to destroy humanity altogether. So that's got to be stopped. Hence the adventure, which is great. Loads of jeopardy, loads of things like a ring of fortress moons that we love to see. And yes, giant ebony cities, etc, etc. Oh yes, and another classic science fiction thing. I wonder if this is the first time it happened. Not slingshotting round the sun, but like that, just as common in things like Star Trek. One spaceship full of goodies is being chased by a powerful enemy.
Hiding in a nebula.
Exactly. Hiding in a dangerous nebula.
Yeah.
We can't go in there, Captain. It'll terrible
us.
things will happen, but we'll go. We've got to. They won't follow us in.
And it's all right. We can slingshot out of it.
It'll mess with the instruments. Yeah, so that happens amongst many other things.
Excellent.
So great fun. Really enjoying Rocket Summer. Moving on to the 1950s, I'm going to be getting into some short stories in these collections that aren't entirely 50s, but I did notice most of these books contain stories from the 50s, both edited by Mike Ashley, both published by the British Library. Beyond Time, Classic Tales of Time Unwound. Risky strategy for me because Dr. Jennie becomes downright unlaced at time travel when it doesn't make sense.
I can't be doing with it.
She cannot be doing with time travel.
Too many illogicalities in the plot.
We're listening to a time travel book at the moment. Oh God, we have to stop it every 5 minutes so it can be deconstructed. And Menace of the Monster, classic tales of creatures from beyond. So that's what I'm getting on to next, wrapped around Hugh Walpole and James Joyce and other things I'm reading. So that's where I'm at.
Good.
Everybody happy?
Well, I'm relatively sad, yeah.
Good. All right then.
For the horrible time travelling illogicalities. Look, see knows how.
We want logical time travel. Okay, back soon, if time allows for it. Back soon, or
But I say this.
in the future, perhaps in the past.
If, as the man claims in the book that we're listening to.
Which is Recursion by Blake Crouch.
Yeah. If everything's happening everywhere all the time, you can't move along a timeline because a timeline doesn't exist.
I'm not sure we've come much further from what I've just described, where the science fiction mechanics are sort of put up there,
Yeah.
but they don't bear much close examination,
No.
and really they're there so you can have the story.
Yeah.
So I can enjoy the story just thinking, oh, people are going back and new timelines are happening, without worrying that that couldn't really happen.
Yeah, but for me it's like, nah.
We're like those clocks where the one thing comes out and the other one goes back in.
We're the clock.
Yes.
We are.
But of
Like
time
novels,
travel.
But of time travel, yeah.
Ah, still here?
I'm not unenjoying the book.
The Blake Crouch book, no. So
No.
Recursion by Blake Crouch is a group read on Criminally's Patreon, as it happens, and I decided to listen to it with ears because of all the other stuff I'm reading.
Ears and your wife constantly going, but, hang on a minute.
Yeah, if how do the...
Then...
Does everybody get...
Nosebleeds? Everybody's nose will be bleeding all the time.
Still, we're not talking about that now. We're talking about Legion of Space. I should have tried... I've had Skylark of Space, Legion of Space. I should try and find some more of spaces. To think of that, yeah.
I can see a rabbit hole having gone down right there.
That's it.
Ta.
Bye.